welcome back. Welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor, and today we're going over all of my spring book recs. But before I open the video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you love all things books. Now, I will say if I sound out of breath or I'm looking extra shiny, it's because the heat has officially hit Tennessee. And let's just say my room is not exactly good at cooling down. It retains anything that's going on outside, inside here. But in an effort to try and not make the audio crazy, I have my fan off. Because for some reason, everyone else in my household is chilly. I would love to know why. Love to know why. But that aside, we are in the midst of April showers bring May flowers. We are talking all things spring. So whether or not these books covers give spring vibes, or if they're set in the springtime, or if it's just general, like, I feel like this would be a good springtime-esque book to read, that's what I've gone through and picked out for you. Also, side note, I just watched You, Me, and Tuscany with Halle Bailey and Regé-Jean Page. If you want a spring rom-com to watch, go watch that in theaters. Also, we're sporting black rom-coms because for some reason, the success of this one hinges on every other black rom-com being made, which is stupid, Hollywood. Do better. So I guess without further ado, let's hop into all of my spring book recs. Alright, so I'm going to go through all of the physical ones that I own first, and then we will go through all of the ones that I don't physically own. So first off, I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. I chose this one because it takes place during the spring semester of senior year. So there's prom, there's graduation. Those are all things that indicate springtime to me, especially as someone who works in the college campus space. So this one we are following Ben DeBacker, who comes out to their parents as non-binary, and they are kicked out of the house, and now they have to reconnect with their estranged older sister Hannah and essentially finish out their spring semester of senior year in a different school with different peoples. But while they're there, they run into Nathan, the tour guide that showed them around, and let's just say the romance that blooms between them is so sweet. I will say of all the books here, I think this one covers the most heavy topics. There's a lot of trauma and mental illness discussion in here, especially around coming out and sort of having to let go of people who you thought were going to love you forever. So do keep that in mind, but it definitely is one that brings up that spring semester of high school vibes. This one, I know, technically kind of really takes place during autumn because it is like the Mooncake Festival or the Autumn Festival, something surrounding mooncakes, but do you see that cover? Do you see that cover? And I'm not gonna lie, it just gives cutesy spring rom-com vibes to me, so I guess it depends if what you're looking for. Also, Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shara Lee, the book I'm talking about, I think has just been picked up for either a movie or a TV show, so I thought I'd pick up and talk about it now, given that Heartstopper seems to be coming to an end, which I'll talk about later, and you might need something of the same vibes. So in Fake Dates and Mooncakes, we are following Dylan, who is living with his aunt and helping run his aunt's takeout shop. One day when he delivers takeout to this really rich residence, he kind of gets taken aback by poor treatment. So the guy who actually owns that residence comes into his shop later to apologize for his friend / situationship's treatment and basically strikes up a deal with Dylan saying, hey, I need someone to be my fake date to my cousin's wedding because my dad's a piece of shit and I need to make a statement. And of course Theo donates money to Dylan's, struggling shop. Dylan's like, sure, why not? And of course, a little romance ensues there. This is kind of pitched as Heartstopper meets Crazy Rich Asians. And yeah, it's cute. Also, if you're a foodie, this one is definitely for you because food is a strong, prevalent thing throughout here. Then, one of the books from one of my favorite romance series of all time, Caught Up by Liz Tomforte. I chose this one because baseball, from what I've looked up, is a spring sport, or at least it takes a lot of time, takes place during a lot of the spring, and Caught Up is a baseball romance. and that might be the only reason why I chose that. But I feel like I always have to slot a sports romance in because I feel like those are classics. So Caught Up is the third book in the Interconnected Windy City series. However, you can technically read them as standalones, but I like reading them in order because I love my found family. We are following Kai and Miller. Kai is a single dad who's overprotective of his little son, Max, and of course, after he scared off all the nannies, he goes up to his coach and is like, hey, I know we're going to be traveling this season. Do you have any ideas of a nanny who'd be willing to travel with us? And of course, his coach is like, I have a great idea. And the coach recommends his daughter, Miller, who is a very spicy, very carefree, very famous pastry chef. And let's just say Miller's not looking for a whole lot, but between her and Kai, they strike up a very beautiful relationship. And yeah. I always struggle on whether or not The Right Move or Caught Up is my favorite in the series. However, both are 5 stars for me. So if you're looking for single dad, ex-nanny, baseball romance, beautiful found family, and plus the love confession, like there's a line in this book that's just like, that's 5-star moments worthy that you must be reading. Then I feel like I recommend this every spring, but In the Weeds by B.K. Borison. So B.K. Borison's Love Light Farm series, each book in that series, while it's an interconnected standalone series, follows the changing of the seasons, and this is spring. This one is also one night stand to friends to second chance sort of situation, so if you don't like that one night stand trope, this one may not be for you. And also I think that this one may be my least favorite in the series, so I'm just going to point that out, but I still love everything that B.K. Borison has put out. In this one, we're following Evelyn and Beckett. Evelyn is a very famous travel vlogger. She has made her money highlighting small towns and the best places to travel and visit throughout the country. But after a strong series of burnout, she decides she's going to go back to the home of Love Light Farms where she last had her most happy moment. And of course, who else is there? Beckett, her one-night stand situationship that she just can't seem to get over. And you know what? When she seems to be lacking a housing situation, Beckett offers her his spare room. And of course, there's a little forced proximity, you know, getting to reconnect and re-know each other. And yeah, it's cute. Beckett is our sweet, I think he's autistic, although I don't know if that's completely like mentioned in there, sweet autistic cat dad. So yeah, if you're wanting that, this one's for you. Let's talk religious trauma. I have to say that because the book I'm currently reading, I picked up thinking it was going to be a sexy little romantic suspense, and it hits me with religious trauma in the first chapter. Not that I have any religious trauma, but still. Say a Little Prayer by Jenna Voris is for my sapphic lovers. This is a YA sapphic romance following Riley, who gets in trouble at school after punching a girl who makes fun of her sister for having an abortion. And of course, because it's a small town in Bible City, she is given the option to go to church camp over spring break so she doesn't have to actually do a detention during the run of her spring musical. And Riley agrees to this, but while she is at church camp, she decides she's going to commit all 7 deadly sins in 7 days while she's also fighting her feelings for her best friend / the preacher's daughter. So if you want mess, if you want hard topics and hard conversations and a little Spartacus moment, this one might be for you. And obviously, spring break. Although spring break I think is past for most of the country, but I feel like you can never quite get over the spring break vibes. And then my one fantasy. I had to throw in a little fantasy. I feel like I had to give some variety, even though we are a romance-heavy channel here, and I am in a romance-heavy mood right now. We have Sorcery and Small Magics by Maiga Ducey. I feel like last year, or the year before this broke the queer internet, I feel like everyone was putting it in like their favorite top reads, top queer reads of the year. And it is the first book in an unfinished trilogy, so I am sorry for recommending you a book series that you can't finish right away. But if you're into cozy fantasy, rivals to lovers, and a little like a Killian Gay moment, this one for you. So we are following Leah Vander and Sebastian. They are academic rivals at this school of magic, and they have basically been at each other's throats for as long as they can think or know of. But when Grimm accidentally casts the wrong spell on Leo, they now have to go into the forest and seeking out how to break this control spell. And of course, lots of adventures, lots of dislike to friends happens. There isn't a whole lot of lovers in here, but I imagine it's going to be a slow burn. Now, I'm not a huge fan of slow burn. Is it my favorite cozy fantasy of all time? No, but I'm not a huge fan of cozy, but I understand that a lot of you are fans of cozy fantasy, so if you're looking for that, this one's for you. Then my last physical book that I own, another gay read, is Once Upon You and Me by Timothy Janoski. You know that he is one of my favorite writers of all time, especially one of my favorite queer writers. If you were wanting to look for books that have a little bit of fun, a little bit of spice. Well, some of the books are super spicy and some of the books are not spicy, so that's really up to your journey. Look it up. But also have strong mental health discussions. He's definitely for you. So Once Upon You and Me follows Taylor and Ethan. Taylor is the assistant to Amy, and Amy's so far been a great boss, but Taylor's been an assistant for 3 years, and he is basically entwined in the Amy family business. So when he goes to the, campgrounds where Amy's daughter's having her sweet 16 to check on everything, something goes awry to where he is basically forced to live with Ethan, Amy's ex-husband. And of course, Ethan and Taylor realize that they might have a little more in common than they think. I will say trigger warning to my eldest children. Trigger warning to my eldest children. As an eldest daughter, this may have sparked some things in me. But if you want a messy situation that's handled relatively well, this one's for you. Now let's talk the books that I don't own. First up is Yours in Amsterdam by Raina Starlet. Now, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, and trying to remember characters' names is in fact a chore. I know one of them's named Day, and I think the other one's named Gemma, so that's who I'm going to go with. So Gemma basically, in the span of one day, loses her job and finds her fiancé cheating on her with his best friend that he says was just friends. And she's like, well, shit, what do I do? My entire life plan has been blown up. So her friend over in Amsterdam, who's about to get married, offers her an apartment to stay in as well as a job helping plan her wedding because Gemma's an event planner. And of course, while she's there, she runs into her friend's brother, Dane, hot, sexy Nordic god Dane, who's also a STEM, like some sort of biomedical scientist. I can't remember, but he's, super smart and, got money. And they're tasked with helping plan this wedding together. And of course, romance ensues from there. Is it a bit insta-love? Yes. Is it a bit unrealistic sometimes? Absolutely. But it's short, it's quick, and it's all about a girly who's getting her life back in order. Like, I feel like this one really encapsulates the idea of new beginnings that spring brings you, and it's a little bit spicy. And plus, this girl took no shit. Every one of her old friends in her old life would be like, he made a mistake. And she's like, I'm not the one who fucked this up. That was him. So this one for short, cute, and quick, that one's definitely on the docket. Then lastly, one that literally screams March that I could have done back in March when I originally planned this video, but things got pushed off. Go Yuck Yourself by Sarah Raish. This is the second book, the sequel to The Nightmare Before Christmas. That little duology kind of focuses on the children of the major leaders, kings and queens of the various holidays. So we're following the second brother of Christmas, Chris, makes sense, who is tasked with seeking out who is draining the Christmas joy. And of course, they do believe it is the son of St. Patrick's Day, Lachlan. So Chris is sent over there to do a fact-finding mission. The only problem is that Lachlan is kind of someone he has had a bit of a dislike relationship with, and now they're forced to work together in some sort of PR situation for all the St. Patrick's Day festivities, and they just can't seem to get their hands off each other. So if you're looking for something hot and gay, with a little bit of some sort of fantastical element thrown in, I will say the only thing about this duology that causes me interest, which is interesting because I really liked Sarah's other book, which is The Start of a New Duology, which is also fantastical, is sometimes the magic system and the plot related to that does confuse me. So do go with that in mind. I also do think that you will get spoiled for the first book a little, even though they're technically interconnected standalones. But hey, definitely go luck yourself. It is a St. Patty's Day blaring. This is a spring seasonal read. Those are all my spring book recs. I know it's a little bit late because we'll be diving into summer book recs come end of next month. But hey, we still have a little bit of time to pick up all of our spring flowery book recs. So let me know what you are reading this season. What's the book that you're most excited to pick up from my list? And I will see y'all in the next one.